Hi everyone, today we are gonna talk about top 5 drift cars of all time. Drifting is, with the aid of using FAR, one of the maximum popular and quickest developing styles of motorsport, today, gaining it as upward thrust in pop culture via films like The Fast and the Furious and video games such as Need for Speed and Forza Motorsport. We get asked, daily, what's the great vehicle to begin drifting in? What's going on, everybody? But earlier than we dive into looking to answer this very debatable question, please keep in mind subscribing, in case you haven't already. So, what is the great vehicle to begin drifting in? First, we want to speak about the simple functions that we want as a way to get started. The most important ideal flow vehicle functions are rear-wheel drive, guide transmission, a lightweight chassis, and arguably the maximum important, cost-powerful aftermarket support. You might be giving those automobiles the most important bully beatdown they have ever seen. And you'll wreck it into stuff, and ship it off target into tough terrain. Things are gonna break and you are gonna need to alter the vehicle to make it extra successful and extra dependable as time is going on. With that being said, those are the pinnacle 5 automobiles to begin drifting in. Number 1, the E36 BMW 328. The 328 is BMW's pinnacle trim 3 collection beneath the M3, boasting a whopping 190 HP. But wherein the 328 virtually shines is how its torque curve is set up. The 2.8-liter inline-6 has a strong, flat torque curve. The torque comes on low, mustering 181 pound-toes with the aid of using 2,000 revolutions per minute, peaking at 207 pound-toes at 3,950 revolutions per minute and maintaining an adequate deliver of thrust via 6,000 revolutions per minute. Couple that with a reduced weight with inside the 31 to 3,300 pound range and a guide transmission and you have got we're given a recipe for skids. Number 2 in this listing has to visit the Nissan 350Z. Now, I desired to hold this listing far from the everyday path of famous glide motors, however 350Zs are so reasonably priced and plentiful, I needed to position it in this listing. With almost 300 HP, 275 foot-kilos of torque and a reduced weight of 3,200 kilos, the 350Z is, basically, synthetic with slidey boys in mind. It become arguably one of the maximum famous motors of its time. The Nissan 350Z made Car and Driver's 10 quality listing, Road and Travel's Worldwide Vehicle of the Year, Automobile Journalist Association of Canada's Canadian Vehicle of the Year and Quality New Design, Motor Week's Quality Overall Performance Vehicle, Road Track's Quality Vehicle under $30,000, and Automobile Magazine's Vehicle of the Year, and that becomes simply 2003. The 350Z went directly to win heaps greater awards at some point of manufacturing and made the cover of Need for Speed Underground 2, Forza Motorsport 2 and the short and lived Tokyo Glide. That's a variety of reward for a vehicle you could now snack for $5,000. And with that type of popularity comes aftermarket aid to fulfill any budget. You can flip a 350Z right into a music and glide monster for only some $1,000. And granted you may not be making any massive energy without compelled induction, these pressure trains can take a large beating without hesitation. Don't sleep on a 350Z simply due to the fact it is typical. There's a purpose they may be used at some point of motorsport. And it is the best alternative for purchasing started. Number 3 is available in with the SN95 Mustang. Now I realize what you are thinking due to the fact each time I endorse an SN95, y'all clap lower back with, why could you endorse any Mustang? It truly is now no longer a Fox frame. Well, do not get me wrong, Fox frame Mustangs are exquisite and all. However, because the Mustang 0.33 technology transitions into a brand new classic, the SN95 is fast becoming the undertaking vehicle technology of Mustang, and there are a few very noteworthy advantages to the SN95 Mustang over the Fox platform. Mustangs transitioned into the 4th era furnish the chassis with a much wider track with longer manage arms, manufacturing facility 4-wheel disc brakes, and 5 log hubs, which opens up a variety of wheel options. And with that got here the additional Ford's modular 4.6-liter V8 in 1996. Now the 2-valve 4.6-liter is not recognized for being very powerful. In fact, the 350Z out-horsepowers the Mustang through its complete 10-12 months 4th era lead, but what makes those pressure trains first-rate for motorsport is their strong engineering. 300 foot-kilos of torque running through a 3,200-pound chassis with unequaled aftermarket support. But the SN95 platform is up to date over the Fox body. Its configuration is essentially the same, making elements extraordinarily reasonably priced and really widespread. Coilovers for those vehicles are listed as becoming 1979 to 2004 Mustangs. Drift prepared perspective kits, 1979-04. Dual caliper bracket, 1979-04. where it can sound like a horrific thing. These widespread elements like this deliver rate down dramatically, and that is what makes a strong rear axle pony automobile a contender for this list. Reliable, reasonably priced and clean to discover in manual. Before we get into wide variety 4, move beforehand and take hold of yourself a Busch Light and a few white New Balances due to the fact we are going to be speaking approximately the Chevrolet Corvette. Yeah, it's proper haters, the C5 era Corvette Extra specifically. The C5 Corvette added to the LS1 into the arena in 1996 as a 1997 version 12 months boasting 345 horsepower and 350 foot-kilos of overdue 90s earth-shattering torque. With a low-slung 3,200-pound chassis with an excellent 50-50 weight distribution. This automobile became a monster while it got here out. Nearly 25 years later, its formerly superior engineering and styling has dated the auto, leaving tens and thousands of hugely depreciated sports activities vehicles for dead. And what do you get if you have tens of thousands of depreciated sports activities vehicles? A huge call for aftermarket support. Mass-produced guidance perspective kits may be had for affordable cash in addition to various different suspension and chassis components. The C5 Corvette's manufacturing facility energy level is extra than sufficient to slip the auto around. And with an over-engineered pressure train, those vehicles can take again a beat down and continue to be unstressed, reliable, and nonetheless get 30 miles a gallon at the manor home. Creating a clap C5 Corvette, a first-rate first preference for drifting. I stored this vehicle for remaining because it is very close to and pricey to my heart. One of the maximum neglected motors with inside the community, because of the popularity for being one of the safest and maximum uninteresting motors with inside the world. But at some stage in the past 80s and early 90s, this producer produced a turbocharged 2.3-liter, rear-wheel pressure guide transmission station wagon that could pass directly to marketplace itself because the own circle of relatives man's sports activities vehicle alternative, calling out brands like Porsche, Lotus, Lamborghini, Ferrari, or even Camaro. I'm a path speaking approximately the Volvo 740 Turbo Estate. Now those motors were not especially powerful. In fact, you may even snigger after I inform you they produced handiest 160 HP and 194 kilos of torque from their unmarried overhead cam 2.3-liter 4-cylinder. But pay attention, me out, Volvo 740 Turbo is a higher untaxed 240SX alternative. These Volvos weigh in beginning round 2,900 kilos. Boast all-wheel disc brakes, railroad pressure a guide transmission. It makes up for the more 100 kilos or so with the manufacturing facility turbocharged engine. Unlike the little child KA24DA, you may upload a brief 75 HP with multiple minor bolt-ons with inside the flip of a lift controller. The Volvo 740 Turbo ought to do everything the U-Aspect 240SX did and do it higher. More power, more potent pressure train, less complicated modification. Higher construct, high satisfactory and higher drifting. Aftermarket guide for chassis mods additionally rivals that of the S13 platform, and of path the Volvo isn't always glide taxed. Volvo 1, S13 Large Antique 0. Now please write your top 5 drift cars in the comments below. Press like and subscribe. Bye bye.